every time somebody finds out what you're about to do right we get an amazing reaction because it makes everybody nervous, right?
Well, it does, and it does make me nervous as well in a way because it isn't my item. But I have got the okay from my client to do this, so rather his item than mine, definitely. Yeah. Plenty of things that can suggest to us that for definite it is fake, but there are other things that are going to suggest to us that possibly it's totally genuine. We are Mulready Philatelics. We've been dealing in classic postal history and stamps for 50 years. We specialise in all things Victorian and especially penny blacks, tuppenny blues, line engraved stamps, Mulreadys and caricatures. So today we have a ship letter sent in 1840 from London to the United States, to New York. This is the sort of item that we would pick up for our clients. So we have many people that like to exhibit as well as just to collect, and something like this, if it came our way, if this is a genuine item, we would definitely be interested in, because it's a fantastic first page item for any exhibit to have a cover going to the States with some original 1840 tuppenny blues. It's September, and on it has 4 1840 tuppenny blues from plate 1. 2 of them would have formed a pair, and 2 of them have come from the row below, and this would have contained a letter. It's sealed with a wax seal. There's a London date stamp on the back, and inside would have been in letters. This would have gone by ship, probably taken about 2 weeks.
And what's the concern with this cover?
Well, my client who owns this cover bought this cover in a well-known auction house in a mixed lot, and it comes in this plastic outer which has a number at the top which has been crossed through, and that's because it's been given a certificate by an organisation, and they have failed this cover. They have said they don't think this cover is correct. So what they're suggesting is that these 4 stamps don't belong to this cover. Originally my client had hoped to sell it because he thought it was genuine. So as a cover like this, if it was genuine, it's a 5-figure sum, well into 5 figures. And obviously he thought, when he bought it, that he'd found himself a little gem. We think possibly not. We tend to agree possibly with the certifiers. We've tried to sell this on his behalf as a cover like this, suggesting that it's obviously been faked, and without success, because it probably has been faked. So his idea was, well, okay, Robin, thanks for all your help. Send it back to me. I'm just going to soak off the tuppenny blues, and hopefully they'll be all right, and I'll get my money back that way. And I thought, what might be a better idea is there is an outside chance that this is genuine, and we're going to get a better idea if we soak these stamps off, try and piece it all together, see if the postmark underneath it actually sort of comes through. We can see if somebody has maybe inked over some of it. So there are plenty of things that can suggest to us that for definite it is fake, but there are other things that are going to suggest to us that possibly it's totally genuine. But he seems to be happy to do this, so I think we can have some fun with this. So this is definitely not something I'd recommend you did at home. You know, we're gonna put this in some water, and what should happen is that these 4 stamps will float off, and then we'll be able to examine them, see if there's any faults underneath that are probably one of the reasons why they've been put on there in the first place. See if there's any things that show that the postmark is tying the stamps through the cover or not. But hopefully, well, we're going to find out a result one way or the other for sure.
So, Robin, then what are all the pros for this being authentic, do you think?
I think probably the first one that you look at is, if you look at the stamps carefully, they're all clearly from the same sheet. Okay, so we've got 4 single stamps that have come from the same sheet. They're the same colour. They've got a very similar cancel, identical cancel, I would suggest, on each one of them, which is a sort of pale red Maltese cross. Okay, so there's no chance that you could go out and find 4 tuppenny blues at random that look like they came from the same sheet and put them onto a cover. That's never going to happen. Every one of these stamps individually will change colour over the years. So these guys have been together for 180 years. Thank you.
Yeah.
180 years. Now, the other thing that I think is possibly a good factor in suggesting that there is possibility of some genuineness here. As I say, is it does look like that the ship letter council here ties the stamps to the cover, and there's a Maltese cross down here that appears to tie it as well. So if that's genuine, you can clearly see that Tuppenny is tied by that Maltese cross there, and that here you can see that this ship letter appears to go over the top of the stamps. Okay, so when we view the cover from inside and behind, where this stamp is here in particular, suddenly the postmark seems to stop and then go over the stamp and then start again the other side. So that would normally be an indication that something like this was genuine. I think another thing that you could suggest is that the stamps, as you can see, have not all been placed in a straight line. They're not, even the right way up. In fact, they seem to be going off at different angles. Now, that also could suggest that somebody is actually having a bit of fun when they're making this. They don't, you know what, if you're going to make a forgery like this, why would you draw extra attention to yourself by putting on stamps at all sorts of different angles? So it was a not uncommon practice for people in Victorian times that perhaps didn't necessarily agree with the monarchy to place a stamp on a cover at an unusual angle. So it's another reason why this might be genuine.
It also just looks like somebody isn't used to using stamps yet.
Absolutely could be that. This is still the first few months of stamps. You've gone down the post office, you're sending a letter to your nearest and dearest in America. You've never sent one them to before or whatever, and you've written out your letter, and then you're thinking, oh, where am I going to put my stamps on this now? So they've gone around it trying to sort of leave the address clear. So another reason why it might be genuine.
Right, so now let's talk the negatives.
So the negatives are that the cover itself looks like it's been maybe a little bit washed. The Maltese cross that is apparently tying this Tuppenny blue down here possibly has been painted on. So the colour is very similar, as is the colour of this ship letter council as it goes over the top of the stamps. But it is possible that it's been painted on to make it look like these stamps belong. One of the other major problems that this cover would have is that this isn't the right rate for a cover going to America. So we're sending a cover to America at this period. It should be, depending on the route it takes, between about £1 and £1 and twopence. So you'd expect there to be at least 2 more Tuppennies on this cover. Now it is possible that they have at some point been taken off or floated off, but there's no evidence of any other cancel, so it's unlikely.
So that rate is a big deal, I think.
The rate is a big deal, you're absolutely right. So, and people make mistakes, but you would have expected then there to be maybe some mark on it to suggest that extra postage needs to be paid. So
there are too few stamps for us to really be
few
convinced.
stamps, exactly. Okay. I think another interesting thing is, to me it does look like this has been given some sort of a treatment before, because if you look carefully you can see a crease which appears to be flattened out coming straight up through the middle of the cover, and it crosses this stamp here. Now you'd expect that stamp to be creased if the cover had been creased and flattened out. We probably won't find until we try and take these stamps off whether or not that stamp actually has got a crease in it. If it's got a crease in it, I'm going to say that's a good thing. That crease is going to suggest that somebody has tried to press the crease out with the stamp on the cover.
Yes.
You're not going to take a stamp that is uncreased, put it on this cover, and then crease it.
Yeah.
So if it's uncreased, probably doesn't belong. If it's creased, I think it has a chance of being a genuine stamp.
There's one of the indicators.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and soak this cover now. And we're going to just pop it in some water. So I'm going to pop the cover in the water. One of the things that can happen, and we may see that happen with this one, is that the ink that's on the cover can run. Okay, so if anyone that soaks stamps off on covers from this period, sometimes the ink is absolutely rocket proof, it just stays on there. And sometimes it comes off. If it starts to come off, we don't want it really to damage the stamps any more than they might already be. So we want to try and get them out of the water as quick as possible and put them into something else, just to clean them off a bit, so we can dry them off.
So can we talk value right now? You said the cover would be 4 figures?
More like 5 figures.
More
If this
like
is an
5
original usage, genuine usage, we're looking at a 5-figure sum for a cover like this. Very rare item. Bunch of Tuppenny Blues on the cover to America in 1840. The stamps themselves, assuming they're okay, the cover is worth, without the stamps I should say, 20 to 50 quid. And the stamps themselves, assuming they're fine, they're going to be somewhere in the region of 150 to 250 pounds each.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to bring they still have a value, so assuming the stamps are fine, there's somewhere between £600 and £1,000 worth of stamps on them anyway.
Fantastic.
But we may find that they're not fine either, so that will reduce the value more.
Oh, let's see.
Got a little bit of movement. Back on the page. Carefully like that. That looks like on the back of it there's some other paper, okay? Now that might have come off of here, okay? Or it might have been stuck on there to sort of strengthen the stamp. What we're not seeing though, what we're not seeing on the envelope here, on the letter sheet, is the letters of the ship letter that this would have gone over. So that's a little bit of a mystery at this point. You'd expect to see those letters there. So you can see this crease running through here. So this is what you would expect to see going through the stamp as well.
So initial thoughts, all stamps seem to be...
All the stamps initially seem to be in pretty good condition. For outwardly looking fine used stamps with full margins, certainly finer than you'd have expected to see if someone had just decided to stick some stamps on a cover to get rid of them, to try and make some...
Cool. What about the crease?
The crease does not appear to be there. There's a tiny little corner crease, and I can't really see any evidence of a crease where you'd hope to see it if the cover was genuine. You know, all the evidence has to point to these not belonging to that covers because of all the facts said before. But I think now they're off, it's certainly going to be worthwhile somebody now examining them with an ultraviolet light, having a look, see what we can find, to see if there is evidence of say a modern gum that might have attached them to it. I'm going to say at this point, you'd probably say the jury's a little bit still out.
Yeah, I'd say it's still out.
Yeah,
right? It's a bit inconclusive.
It's inconclusive, so there's life in the old dog yet. So,
yes.
So we
From
might
a stamp perspective, this could still be an authentic cover with a story that that's missing some details.
Yeah.
Because it's coming from the same sheet. They're not damaged in any way, so they don't have flaws in which we're hiding anything. The cover itself, however, may reveal something.
The cover itself may reveal something. Again, we're going to let it dry out, see how it's getting on. This normally takes a little while. So often if you hold something up like this to the light, you're looking at, you can see an impression of where the stamps were in situ. You can feel for slight indentations. If the stamp has been on a cover for 180 years, you'd expect it to leave a little dent. The mystery is always going to remain with something like this. Is the rate doesn't work.
The rate doesn't work.
There is no other postmarks on the back. I think you can always say, this will definitely, be examined further.
I think
when we tried this out, and You know, I mean, in the outside chance that we could show for sure that these stamps did belong to this cover, I mean, they can be reunited, as I said, and our buyer, my client, my collector friend, may have found himself a little gem. But for the moment, I think we have to think that all the facts still point to it to being perhaps not.
Right, still leans that way.
It still leans that way, yeah. I think the lack of a crease in that stamp,
Pretty cool.
if it had a nice little crease in it, just that on its own would have given it a chance of being genuine.
No. Okay, so this is the next day. Robin, you came and hunted us down actually at Stampex on the final day. We did the soaking of the stamps yesterday, right?
Did, yes indeed.
Gave them a chance to dry, and we thought it was pretty much inconclusive yesterday as a result of everything. But then you hunted me down. What's the reason?
Well, the reason I hunted you down is that yesterday, as anyone who's been watching this film would have realised, is that I suggested that if one of these Tuppenny Blues had a crease in it, and it was positioned over the crease that had been flattened out on the cover, if the Tuppenny Blues had been added onto the cover, you know, the crease wouldn't be there in that exact position. Okay, but the stamps have dried out now, and there's the 4 stamps, so they look absolutely lovely. So most of them, in fact 3 of them, are in very good condition. The one that was over the crease, IG, here's the cover, which, as we can see, still interestingly shows that there is no postmark underneath where this stamp was. So that's where that stamp was positioned, just like so. And we saw yesterday that there was a crease here that had been flattened out. So the assumption would be that if someone had stuck these stamps on, and you'll notice these light areas here, which does suggest they've been on there for quite a while.
Quite a while, yeah.
They've been on there for quite a while.
Otherwise it would be discoloured the same as the exposed areas,
yeah,
right?
You would have thought so. You would have thought so, exactly that. So this stamp was sat there when we looked at it yesterday. There's a little bit of a Maltese cross down there, which would suggest that, you know, that quite possibly could be the original tie on that cover. So when it dried out, and I started to sort of just move it, just across where you would want it to be, the stamp actually does just bend.
It
like
has
that.
a crease.
Look at that. Okay, and that is bang on where it was on the cover. So what I'm going to recommend to my client now, and again, you know, the facts tend to suggest that this isn't right because of all the reasons that we've said before, but I think what he needs to do now, and anyone can do this, if you're not happy with a committee's opinion, send it either back to the same committee, give your evidence as to why you think it's right, or send it to another committee. So I think he's got a very good chance of sending this off. They can look at the facts now. They can look at the facts now with the stamps off the cover as well, and examine, you know, the underneath of it. And there is a chance that what he actually has got comes back as maybe that elusive, wonderful cover that he thought he had in the first place.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a chance here. I think this actually could be more authentic than we originally thought, although to your point, there are still the arguments maintained that there could be either way here.
It's definitely the jury is still out, but I'm just, you know, for me that is a really interesting thing. The fact that little crease across that stamp, you know, is there. No way should that have been there if someone's just popped these stamps on there. So I think either this was done a long time ago, the crease, maybe the cover got creased after the stamps have been stuck on there by somebody that's tried to create it, and then they soaked it and tried to flatten it out. All sorts of things could have happened. But I think, you know, that coupled with the fact that we have this area where there is no ship letter cancel, you know, somebody could have been very clever colouring some letters here, you know, of this word ship letter. So we'll have to really look very closely with sort of ultraviolet lamps and other sort of equipment. But it does give it hope, because this is a genuine council, there's absolutely no doubt about that. But how much of that is genuine, that's something else you have to look at, you know, as somebody being there, not only fiddling around maybe with this Maltese cross, but putting a little bit more cancel to make it look genuine.
My viewers are going to ask this question now. You've removed the stamps. You're going to end up, of course, if they think it's authentic, they're going to place the stamps back on. Has that devalued this cover by a lot?
It hasn't devalued it by a lot. It's a common practice, certainly on the continent, that when you have a valuable stamp on a cover, They do get lifted up, so they get soaked off effectively, and then hinged back in place. And they do that so they can inspect the stamp to see if there are any faults. Because if you've got a very valuable stamp on the cover, unless you take it off, you can't really see if there's any faults. So it is something that happens. Some people might find that makes it less attractive as a proposition, but for many people it won't make much difference in any way. The vast amount of difference in value we're talking here between 4 stamps, just Tuppenny Blues off the cover, or 4 stamps that actually belong on that cover, you're still going to get a very good return if it works out.
I'm curious to see what the viewers think, if they think they may have an opinion here.
I'd be really interested as well, because there's going to be guys out there that are very experienced, knowledgeable, and they'll have an opinion without a doubt as well.
Yeah. So we'll be following along in the comments. You definitely will, seeing what people think. Again, thank you for this. If people wanted to reach out to you and or check out your store, how can they do that?
Yep, we are. So we have a big store on eBay called Penny Black 1. We are Mulready Philatelics, and we also have a website, www.mulreadyphilatelics.co.uk, and we're very shortly going to be opening up a brand new auction site, so we look forward to meeting people there.
Terrific, and I look forward to seeing you at the next Stampex as well.
Great to see you again, brother.
All right, take care, Robin.
Take care. Bye-bye.
This video was made in partnership with the Philatelic Traders Society, the PTS, a society protecting the philatelic trade since 1929, in which its reputation for honesty, integrity, and professionalism spans the globe. To learn more and look through the dealer directory, or even apply to have your stamp store join the PTS, go to thepts.net. As always, thank you for watching and happy exploring.